Американская фирма Transceptor Technology приступила к производству компьютеров «Персональный спутник».
I fucking tell you guys, I am crushing it right now. Like I am batting 1,000. Just like I am a fucking slugger. I'm like Barry Bonds on roids right now when it comes to crushing it at failing. It's because I just had it on. I had straight up gold, folks. Like cha-ching, like put that shit in the bank. Solid gold bars that I just recorded for like 6-7 minutes. Had the volume off, of course, and just before I even like leveled up, I was like realized the volume was off, and so here I am again. I am rarely good at second takes. I'm a first take guy. I'm like, let's do this. That's why I was so successful as an actor. That's the hint that I was not. Okay. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But here we are today. I am super glad because this is the first and this is sort of an apology / explanation. I hesitate to say excuse because I'm a grown ass man, and not that being a grown ass quote man unquote makes a difference. A grown ass woman could do the same thing, but I do not make excuses for my behavior. I do it, and if it affects somebody in some way, then I talk to them individually about it, and that's how we figure stuff out. Because that's what adults do. We won't go any further than that. Actually, we probably will later in the episode, but we live moment to moment, or that's what we're trying to do, live moment to moment. So we're going to talk about right now, and if we get to that, cool. If not, life goes on. That was a show back in the day, wasn't it? God, okay, don't get me distracted, brain. So I had been mailing it in on the podcast for a while because I sort of lost inspiration. I was talking to I mentioned I work with a life coach for the Tony Robbins companies, and ever since, excuse me. Oh, wow. Ever since Luke, Chris, and I have sort of taken a break to work on different things, and that sounds so like we're in like some like open relationship or something. Like we're taking a break right now. That's not the case, but there's a lot of other stuff going on. But ever since then, it has been, and I like to be open and honest with you guys. It has been a struggle to get excited about something without anybody to bounce like that energy off here, like physically, or I don't know, presently. I'm not sure how it works, but in this space, it's challenging. So the effort that I've put in has been the last few months, and I think the content from that is evident. as the feedback I've gotten, and it's great. I love, like, I thrive on that feedback. Like, if you're involved in my life and I am sucking in any certain way, not literally, well, I suppose literally, but figuratively, like sucking as like a partner, a friend, associate, whatever. If I'm not adding the value that I could be to your life and stuff like that, I feel like I'm not doing my best job, because I always strive for outstanding, because anything below that, good, like I'm doing a good job, or I'm doing a great job, or adequate job, whatever. All those things elicit and produce good and, / adequate results. And if you are involved in my life, I deem you to be a quality human being that deserves a quality interaction and a quality. Help me out here for a second. Somebody send me some vibes. You're a person that deserves a quality interaction. I don't know. I'm having for some reason I'm having a hard time at explaining what that is, but I think you know what I mean. I think if you're a listener and you've listened to Bored to Death for any amount of time, I think you know what I'm talking about. You want to be the quality. When you deal with really, quote, quality people, you want to be the quality person that they deserve to have in their life. And I really hesitate to use that word deserve, because personally, I don't think we deserve, quote, deserve anything. Even if you're a completely horrible piece of shit, or on the opposite spectrum of that, somebody who is like Jesus, or not Jesus himself, but someone Jesus Christ like. I don't think either person deserves one thing or another. The good person doesn't deserve good things to happen to them. The piece of shit doesn't deserve to have shitty things happen to them. It's that's not for me to decide. That's not for me to put karma or energy into that. It's not my place to judge. As a practitioner of certain things, spiritually and universally, that energy will take care of whatever. And if it doesn't, then oh well. So that's the space where I live in, and that might seem lackadaisical or detached or something like that to you, and that's fine, I actively take care of the things that I think are important based on the values that I've grown up with and internalized and created myself. And those values may be different from yours, and that's amazing. That's good. It's that mix of values, that mild to moderate conflict of stuff that keeps shit going, that keeps creation and all that, and great ideas just boom 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 firing. So. But besides that, I just don't let things. I just don't let things ruffle my feathers. I used to, And kind of in mailing in some of these last podcasts, I let that part of me take over a bit when there were some things that I really started to I really let get to me, and I don't like it when I do that. Not because I'm afraid of feeling or getting asked certain emotion or something, but I'll get to this later. I'm a practitioner of a lot of Ram Dass's teachings, and because of that, everything that happens, I have to pause and take a wider lens view of how that's affecting me, how that's affecting my wants and needs. Maslow's hierarchy. Am I doing what I'm doing because I want something, need something, desire something? Is it my ego? Yada, yada, yada. These are all things we need to consider. Those are all things, and these are all things you should consider as well. And that's where I'm going to leave that, because I'm never going to tell anybody they should do anything. What was that? T.I.? That was a rapper guy, right? T.I. Live your life. Yeah, just live your life. And I don't expect anything from you. I don't. I've talked about this on a lot of episodes in the past. My expectations of anybody or anything are nil. And that's in and of itself, I believe, is sort of a lot of the key to my own well-being and my own happiness, is that I love to live life with an incredibly high expectation of me, of Heath Ovens. But I don't expect anything from anybody else. Not a goddamn thing. If I'm nice to you, if I show you love, if I do something for you, if I do some act, charitably speaking or something like that, I'm doing that for a feeling, and we'll get into that in this episode also. Like we all do stuff. Like I'm not going to say I don't get anything from it. We all get something from everything we do. That's obviously why it's very important to be conscious in our actions. Very conscious. We do so much unconsciously. That's actually very scary. That's actually very scary. But when I do these things, it's with zero expectations. Like, it's not to elicit an emotion from somebody. It's not to get something from somebody, tangible or, metaphorically, literally, figuratively. It's because I want to, because the journey that I'm on is to be love. And that is quite a statement. To be love. To be love. Am I buying myself time? Yes. So, on that journey to be love, you do things because it makes you high. It gets you high. Ram Dass talks about it. He talks about getting high, and at the beginning of his own journey, that was a reference to using psychedelics and stuff like that. but there's always a come down from that. But when you live in a state of love, of being loved, there's no come down from that. There's no peaks and valleys. It's just you are. And you're not impervious to, the hurt, the sickness, the pain of the world. But when you can exchange that with somebody else, it's not like a currency. It's not, being love is different than loving somebody. To love, to show love, that's an action. That's an action. And with every action, there's, an equal or greater reaction. And so when we do an action, that's to get something back. Because every action has a reaction, right? Like I bounce a ball, it fucking bounces back up. So if we're doing love, if we're showing love, if we are loving to somebody, that's to get something back. If we are love, if you're going to be love, that's different. That's a state. That's a way of life. That's a way of being. To show love, to do all this, those are all action words, those are actions to get a reaction. But if you are love, that's just a state of being, man. Pretty cool stuff. I'm going to take a quick break here, but I'll come right back and I'll get this is kind of obviously where we're going with this episode, but I'll be back, and yeah, I'm excited. So in how I ended the last segment in this whole being love thing that I talked about, it's there's some challenges that go along with it, and some of those will be your challenges. Some of those will be challenges to those that you interact with, because inevitably it is going to be miscommunicated and lost on a lot of people. And differently for men and women. So why? Like, why is this getting more complicated? Well, it's not really. But when you are being love, as opposed to, like I said earlier, as opposed to loving or showing love, which is an action that is done on purpose to get a reaction. When I was in theater and doing a lot of work on the stage, it was constantly hammered in by acting coaches, directors, what have you, that you don't do something on stage, the person you're portraying does not do something in that space without a specific purpose, without something they are specifically trying to attain or get. So when you do an action, like when you love or you try to show love or you are loving, those are all actions that you're trying to elicit a reaction. When you are love, that's just a state of being. That's a state of life. That's not attempting to get anything. There's no emotional currency exchange. There's nothing like that. And that fucks with a lot of people. Because a lot of us, and it's tough to admit, and this isn't like a therapy session or something like that. A lot of us have never really been loved or loved like we've needed to be. wanted to be, but mostly needed to be. So when someone is love, it kind of fucks with the wiring a little bit when you're dealing with them, because of our past experiences, and because we have manipulated each other too much, we have fucked with each other too much, we have taken advantage of each other too much, been cheated on, trust been broken, things like that, so many times, and had so many bad experiences, that when someone does, we interact with someone that is love in itself, it fucks with us. And when we're, as men, if a woman does that to us, it either A, scares us, B, we are sure it's because she wants to fuck us, and a host of other things. If you're a woman and you're interacting with a man that is acting like this, and I completely understand where this thought process would come from, that if a man is doing this, while interacting with you, that he's trying to get something from you, i.e. the same thing, sex, something, some sort of power, some sort of power exchange or something like that. And so we internalize those things like so weird because of our own wants. And we're so used to dealing with this selfish, self-serving state of being that a lot of the world lives in, that space that a lot of the world lives in. And that is understandable. And that is why those of us who are on that journey to be love ourselves, to be love as a state of being, that's why it's important for us to be consistent with that love. You can't like just wake up one day and say like, well, I'm going to be love today. And then you do these acts and you don't get what you want out of it. Well, A, you were in the wrong headspace. You're playing the wrong game. And so A, B, and C, kind of fuck you, because that's a manipulative tactic if you're doing it to get something. Now, and granted, even any of us that like to think that we are in that state, like myself, I'll put myself in that category. It's not like I don't get anything out of it, and I want to get something out of it. I'm not better than anybody out there. I'm not better than anybody out there. Not fucking one iota. Because I get something too. I get a feeling. I get a feeling that I'm making a difference. Like if someone's sad and I make them smile, that's a currency. That right there, that feeling is a currency. If someone is making themselves depressed because of certain actions they're internalizing, and I make them laugh, it's not to fuck them. It's not to get anything from them. It's you get a feeling back that you did something. And it's not that you feel sorry for them or pity them. It's when you're in a state of being love, all that other shit just goes away. You just are because you are. You are because you are. So we're talking about this space of what I said, this space and this state of being love. and what comes along with that. There's and this is important that this carries over, because as I talked about earlier, the exchange that can go on or possibly go on, that and it's impeccable timing. I just got off the phone with someone very, very important to me, and we had a discussion that regarded this a lot, about understanding and listening and things like that. It's this goes along with this very well. So in this, oh shit, I'll just take these off. So in the space of being love, let me digress a little bit. So I've started reading this new book, and I've always got several books going on, like a couple audiobooks and like an actual tangible book that I can hold in my hands and read. There's this book called How to Hunt Humans. And when you get past the title, which is interesting to say the least, it goes down and it boils down to one of the key topics in all of this, which is how he goes on. It's because of these filters, the author does a fantastic job. Because of these filters we have, and we all know they exist. Like Ram Dass talks about them. Other authors, psychologists. You can take 1,000 people, have them watch the same video, and what goes in to the brain, auditorily or visually, that's of course, that's a constant. That's all the same. That's everyone's receiving the same information. Everyone is receiving the same information. Now, once that information is downloaded and goes through all your brain's processing mechanisms and whatnot, and is pushed out into the world, now that is a big difference. That can change substantially. So knowing that we're all we can all receive the same information, the exact same information, but we're all gonna process it so fucking differently. Like life is such a game of telephone. And that game we played as kids where it's like someone would start at the end and say something, and as it went along the line, the story would be at the bare minimum moderately to vastly different than where it started. And so knowing that our brain works this way, excuse me. So knowing that our brain works this way, kind of playing this game of telephone, we all know that. So knowing that our brain works this way through playing this game of telephone, we all know that our shared experiences are all going to be different because of that. Our shared experiences are always going to be different because of that. So how we process things is 100% different from each other. Like maybe something happens to you and you associate some shame to it. Like maybe you're into some freaky shit in sex, and there's some shame that you associate with that, but it makes you feel good, or maybe I don't know, you like getting smacked around or someone smacking around you, whatever, there's something, but it's not the act itself that's important. It's how it made you feel. It's how the act made you feel. Like, all these things could have happened to you, but is what it boils down to, and the common denominator we can all focus on is how that act made us feel. Because I'm never going to understand you. I'm never going to understand your experiences. Like, if your ancestors spent the majority of their time on a slave ship, or being tortured, or this, that, and the other thing. If you're a woman and going through experiences that I can't relate to as a man, if you're transgendered, homosexual, whatever, those are all things I will not be able to relate to, but I can relate to a feeling. So if someone does something to you and that makes you feel a certain way, when you're talking with me, you can be like, Heath, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. And it's not to be insensitive, but my response would be, yeah, but how did it make you feel? How did that experience make you feel? Because that's the only way I'm going to be able to relate to you. Is off of a shared feeling, not a shared experience. There's no way we can have a shared experience unless I jump in a time machine or have a drastic lifestyle change or something. So that's where it comes together, is recognizing, okay, how did something make you feel? And then once you say that, I can be like, okay, I've had shit that made me feel that way as well. And that's the building block. That's the foundation. That's exciting. That's very, very cool. So, to reiterate what we've talked about, I'm not as Heath Ovens, I can't relate to your experiences verbatim. Like, the things you've been through, the things I've been through, there's always going to be a miscommunication there if we just act based on our shared experiences. But is where we close that gap, is when we start to shift that focus into how that act made us feel. Like, if this thing happened to me, if that thing happened to me, great. I can have had that exact same thing happen to me and not know jack shit about how that made you feel. Not know a goddamn thing. But when we start talking about shared feelings, like, this happened to me and then this happened to, person XYZ. Okay, great. Now, how did that act make you feel? How did it make you feel? Okay, now that I know how that made you feel, I also have had that feeling when something has happened to me. And now we've got a stepping stone. Now we've got a building block, because it's not our shared experiences. And that's where we're getting lost. That's where all this shit is getting lost. It's not our shared experiences. It's our shared feelings. Because you can have something done to you. I can have something done to me. The exact same thing. Make us feel two completely different ways. But if this, thing happened to you and this other thing happened to me, but it gave us a shared feeling, that's something to build on. So, not to beat a dead horse, obviously, I made the point I wanted to make, and I don't want to hammer things or carry them on too long so the message is lost or watered down. And that's one of the things I want to focus on too, is trying to keep these short, sweet, intense, energetic, and boom, get the episode out, and so we're both engaged. And but before I go, I want to leave you with this really cool story about Ram Dass and his guru Maharajji. So in past episodes, I've talked about how Ram used psychedelics as a stepping stone to get to the state that he calls being high. And when he says being high, in quotes, he's talking about the mental state of being high where your love and accepting and judgment is non-existent, things like that. Looking at life in not a fleeting way, but as he makes this reference to when you die, it's not a bad thing. It's like taking off a tight shoe, is what he says. Like taking off a tight shoe. Is you can relax, your soul is free. So he goes on and he talks about this interaction he had with Maharajji, and Ram would bring. He had his own chemist back in the States, and this is before TSA was running shit, but he would bring some really high concentrated LSD with him to his extended trips to India to study under his guru Maharajji. And Maharajji had a headache one day, and he asked Ram for what he called head medicine. And Ram Dass was going through his medic bag, and he's like, I have aspirin, I have ibuprofen, and he's like, no, head medicine. He points to the LSD. And Ram Dass gives it to him. He gives him the LSD because Maharajji keeps asking for it. And the crazy thing is, Ram Dass goes on. He talks about how high the concentration of LSD was that were in these pills that his personal chemist made for him, and how Maharajji took 4 pills, 4 times what Ram Dass would take to get high, to get to this state of mind that he was, specifically seeing this guru to get to. And so Maharajji took 4 times the LSD that Ram Dass would normally take. 4 times the LSD that Ram Dass would normally take. And it had 0 effect on him. Physiologically. Obviously, this is just Ram Dass observing him. But he continued. Maharajji, after taking 4 times the amount of LSD that would send anybody else on like a trip to fucking Mars, 0 effect, because his brain was already there. His brain had already tapped into all those areas and lifted the blocks and had already rewired itself so amazingly to the fact that he took 4 times the amount of LSD that would send anybody, like I said, to the fucking moon, to Mars, to Uranus. And that is not a bad joke there. But his brain was already there. He didn't need the LSD because his brain was already there. He took 4 times the amount of LSD that Ram Dass was taking and had 0 effect. Because he'd done the work up here, so he was high. Being high was his state of mind. Being high was his state of mind. It was his state of being. And part of that being high is being love. That's a step towards ascension. So something to take with you. Thank you for listening tonight, guys. I fucking love you. I'm glad to be back and with a renewed purpose. You guys fucking rock.